We've all heard the saying, 2 heads are better than 1, but is that really the case? While most humans and animals are typically born with 1 head, there are some animals that have been seen to have 2 heads instead of 1. This condition is known as Polycephaly, and here are the 11 most shocking and rare cases of 2-headed animals that have surprised everyone across the globe. So let's get started. Number 11. Deer. In 2016, a man from Minnesota, USA was looking for mushrooms in a nearby forest when he came across a weird-looking deer fawn. Upon looking closely, the man realized that it was indeed a rare find. What he had just found was a white-tailed deer with 2 heads that was lying dead in the bushes. According to experts from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, this particular fawn was really special because it was the first recorded case of 2-headed white-tailed deer twins brought to full term and birthed. An MRI scan of the deer revealed that the twins shared a single spinal column that forked into 2 distinct necks and heads about halfway up. They had 2 esophagi and 4 stomachs. Their anatomy revealed that the fawns would have never been viable and were probably delivered stillborn. Number 10. Snakes. A 2-headed snake might seem like something straight out of Greek mythology, but trust me when I say it's real. When a man from Durban saw one in his garden, even he couldn't believe his eyes. Now, you may have already heard of 2-headed snakes because snakes are one of the most commonly observed 2-headed animals. However, they're most certainly not a common sight. Fortunately, experts were able to identify this unusual creature as a harmless southern brown egg-eater snake. Each head of the snake likely had its own functioning brain, which means they were 2 different snakes sharing a single body, just like conjoined twins. This makes life really difficult because both heads get hungry and dine separately, making them vulnerable to choking hazards. Studies have indicated that snakes with this genetic condition aren't as agile and quick as a normal snake. Things get more complicated when both the heads try to move in opposite directions from one another. We don't really know how long this rare snake survived because the chances of survival for animals born with such deformities are usually slim to none. Number 9. Bearded dragon. If everything in Australia seems to be a bit extreme, that's because it really is, and this guy here is the perfect example of that. These desert reptiles have recently become common pets due to their robust nature and simple habitat needs. Even though bearded dragons are common in households across the world, seeing one with 2 heads is still very rare. But Mr. Todd Ray seems to be the luckiest guy when it comes to 2-headed bearded dragons named Jekyll and Hyde. He's the proud owner of an orangish-red, 2-headed bearded dragon that he has lovingly named Jekyll and Hyde. This little guy is so special, firstly because of its 2 heads, and what makes it even rarer is its body color. The natural color of these reptiles ranges from brown to gray, so orange is sort of a limited edition color that isn't usually seen. According to Ray, though Jekyll and Hyde have 2 separate brains, they don't seem to think differently when it comes to roaming the cage. Both have their own distinct personalities, and that sometimes makes daily life just a bit tougher for this unique creature. Number 8. Sheep. A farmer from northern China's Inner Mongolia thought that his eyes were playing tricks with him when one of his sheep had given birth to a bizarre 2-headed lamb. The amazing animal has 4 eyes, 2 mouths, and 2 noses. Despite its deformity, the lamb was completely healthy after birth. It was able to suckle off its mother and walk around. And this isn't just the only recorded instance. Something similar popped up in Iceland, but unfortunately, this guy wasn't as lucky. This 2-headed lamb had difficulties in breathing and had just 1 set of vocal cords. According to experts, an individual with large deformities, such as this lamb, won't ever be able to survive in a natural environment. Knowing this, the lamb's owner decided to put the lamb to sleep right after the day it was born. Now I know that sounds a bit cruel, but I believe they did the right thing. Number 7. Cattle. Cattle are one of the most common animals to be born with 2 heads. There have been a number of recorded instances around the world, but the most bizarre of them all was born in a small village in Russia. Take a close look and you'll notice that the animal resembled 2 pigs more than a newborn cow, because this mutant 2-headed cow was born with a pig-like body. Unfortunately, this little guy was stillborn, and there was nothing vets could do. But not all 2-headed calves have the same fate. Some are even worshipped as gods, like this calf born with 2 heads and 3 eyes in Odisha, India. This bizarre creature was coincidentally born during Navratri, which is a Hindu festival, and people started worshipping it thinking it was the avatar of a goddess. But due to its deformed face, it had trouble drinking milk from its mother and had to be fed through a bottle. Other than that, the calf appears to be healthy. Will it live a happy life? I guess we'll need to wait and find out. Number 6. Turtles. What's cute, has 2 heads and 6 legs? Well, the answer is a diamondback terrapin baby turtle born in Massachusetts. You see, 2-headed turtles are very common, but this guy here is unique. 2-headed turtles usually have only 4 legs with some deformities in the middle, but this turtle was born with 6 legs, 2 sets of lungs, 2 heads, and full motor function. Now, no one really knows the reason behind such severe deformities, and even experts believe that it is a one-off anomaly. One thing that's very clear is that both of the heads need to work together because they have 2 sets of lungs. Turtles born with 2 heads and 2 sets of lungs have been known to drown each other since they lack coordination. Apart from that, the turtles seem to be thriving, and one can only hope that they don't end up drowning each other. Number 5. Goat. A 2-headed goat born on a farm in Wisconsin stole the hearts of many people after it was featured all over the news. The goat seemed to be healthy after birth, which is unheard of because it's rare for an animal in the condition to not only survive gestation, but also survive on its own after birth. But it was evident pretty soon that this little animal wasn't going to have a normal life. Unlike most goats, he was slower in gaining control of his legs and had a hard time moving because of the weight of his 2 heads. Since he had 2 brains directing movement, it was taking him longer to learn even the most basic things. People around the world were rooting for his good health, but all of that was short-lived since he died a few days after his birth. Number 4. Pig. We've already seen a 2-headed cow that looked like a pig, but what about an actual 2-headed pig? Well, take a look at this adorable 2-headed pig that was born in China. What's really bizarre about this piglet is the fact that it was born with 2 snouts, 2 ears, and a shared eye. Experts believe that this deformity was the result of an incomplete process of embryo splitting. You see, 2-headed pigs aren't that uncommon in China. Another such piglet popped up outside a Buddhist temple in China. But this one was a bit different. It was born with 2 working mouths, 4 eyes, and 3 ears. Even though its legs are too weak to support the weight of its 2 heads, and death seemed inevitable for this poor guy, it ended up being adopted by a passerby who decided to care for this unusual creature. To many people's surprise, the piglet was able to feed on baby formula and was able to use both mouths to eat. Although its new owner intends to keep it alive, it's highly unlikely that the piglet will survive for too long. Number 3. Cat. Cats are adorable just the way they are, but what about a 2-headed kitten? Well, I guess it's double the cuteness. Just take a look at Frank and Louie. This is the longest living 2-headed cat in history. Frank and Louie was born with 2 faces, 2 mouths, 2 noses, and 3 eyes. He can see out of only 2 of his 3 eyes. The middle eye can't even blink, which makes Frank and Louie appear to be staring even when his other eyes are closed. You see, cats born with this condition hardly ever survive because most of them have birth defects, including a cleft palate, that makes it difficult for them to nurse and often causes them to slowly starve or get milk in their lungs and die of ammonia. But Frank and Louie is really lucky because he has lived for more than 12 years. He also holds the Guinness World Record as the longest surviving 2-headed cat. Another 2-headed cat was born in 2017 in South Africa. Unfortunately, it succumbed to death just a few days after birth. Number 2. Porpoise. 2-headed turtles and cows might be a bit common, but this porpoise with 2 heads is the first and only of its kind. This unique creature was discovered by a Dutch fisherman while fishing in the North Sea. This bizarre creature was found stuck to the net when it was pulled out of the water. Unfortunately, it was dead even before being pulled out from the sea. Not knowing the legal implication of keeping the 2-headed creature, the fisherman decided to let it back in the ocean after clicking a few photos to remember this incredible find. Experts believe that the porpoise was stillborn or died just a few hours after death. Number 1. Tortoise. Janus, a Greek tortoise born in Switzerland, made headlines this year as he turned 25 years old. Now, turning 25 usually isn't really a big deal for these creatures, since they have a massive lifespan of about 80 to 120 years. But this became the reason for celebration, because Janus is not your ordinary tortoise. This little guy is special because he was born with 2 heads, and animals that are born like that don't usually live very long due to complications. Luckily, this special guy was born in the Geneva's Natural History Museum, where they have a dedicated team of experts that make sure he stays healthy. What's amazing about Janus is the fact that he wasn't just born with 2 heads, but also has 2 hearts, 2 pairs of lungs, and 2 distinct personalities. Angelica Bourgois, who leads the turtle's care team, observed that the left head is more passive and loves to eat, whereas the right head is more curious, more awake, and has a much stronger personality. It's nearly impossible for tortoises, like Janus, to survive in the wild because they aren't able to retract their head into the shell, which makes them vulnerable to predator attacks. Fortunately enough, Janus doesn't have to worry about any of that, and we hope we'll be seeing more of him in the future. Do you know of other animals that have more than 1 head? What other animals would you like to add to this list? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, if you loved watching this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, just hit the bell icon and turn on all notifications after subscribing. That'll keep you up to date with every bit of content we post. We'll see you soon in the next one. Bye!